Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, the Premier has spoken in defence of the government's handling of a report into child sexual abuse in Tasmania's schools. The report was completed 5 months ago, but only released earlier this week.
On the defensive, the Premier addressing a report on the Education Department's handling of sexual abuse allegations for the first time.
We began the process within education of ensuring that our kids were safe, Mr Speaker, and that matters that were raised and the recommendations that were made were followed up.
The report was completed 5 months ago. The Education Minister not briefed until 6 weeks later.
When the department was provided with a copy of report, they obviously considered that. They swiftly stood up the Office of Safeguarding Children. I was verbally briefed on that date.
It was then released in full earlier this week.
Yet the Minister tried to cover up this by not disclosing immediately when she had this report and providing it in full.
I'm not going to comment on the dates of release.
As 7 Tasmania News reported yesterday, several relief teachers with records of complaint against them have now been stood down. 3 staff members remain subject to Code of Conduct investigations. The Premier says while his government can't change the past, it can shape the future.
Because when they look back in decades to come, Mr Speaker, they will see that this government, this parliament, had the courage to ask the questions that needed to be asked.
In the upper house, controversial gaming laws dominated for a second day. Independent Meg Webb speaking for more than 4 hours on the bill, lashing out at the 2 major parties, accusing them of being beholden to the industry.
It's not so much the benefit of financial support. I'd suggest it's the gut-wrenching fear that the financial weight of the industry will be thrown against them.
Labor MP Josh Willey defending his party's change in poker machine policy last night.
The opportunity for significant reform was in 2018. That opportunity has passed.
Debate now set to stretch into a second week. Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
The Bob Brown Foundation says Huon Aquaculture's new international owner has nothing to offer in terms of protecting Tasmania's environment. Local environmentalists beginning discussions today with JBS in the midst of the controversial takeover.
Our salmon industry on the table, but Bob Brown says Tasmania must come first.
Our organisation has put JBS on notice that we're here to defend Tasmania and its environment.
Meeting Brazilian meat giant JBS, who won shareholder approval to take over farmed salmon producer Huon Aquaculture. The environmental group, however, walking away from today's discussions reeling.
They said they were here to listen to us. We said we were here to listen to them, but they had nothing to offer except to say they would not damage the Tasmanian environment.
But still willing to work with the global company.
We informed them that we want to see the full restoration of our inshore shallow waters around Tasmania's coast, and that we want to see no more salmon pens going into Tasmania's coastal waters.
Shifting salmon pens on shore, the centre of the Dens Point Declaration, drawn up by the Tasmanian Alliance for Marine Protection, saying there's no point in collaborating unless it's accepted in TAMP's meeting with the organisation.
And we said that unless they're prepared to accept this, the truth of the matter is there is no social licence for JBS, and Tasmanians will not accept continuing damage of Tasmanian waterways.
JBS previously saying it has an uncompromising commitment to animal welfare, environmental sustainability and meeting Tasmania's stringent regulatory standards. But TAMP isn't sold just yet.
They say they haven't really taken control of the business yet. Their claim is that they're interested in sustainability. Their claim is that they're interested in animal welfare. We're saying prove it.
JBS also saying the company visited Huon's facilities and met its 850 employees ahead of acquiring the business on November 17. And in good faith, the team initiated meetings with the Bob Brown Foundation and TAMP to understand their issues. Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
Hundreds have gathered at cenotaphs across the state to commemorate Remembrance Day. A Northwest Cemetery group paid a touching tribute to our war dead, ensuring their sacrifice would be honoured more than 100 years on.
A solemn moment of silence as Tasmanians paused at 11 o'clock. Emotional for many veterans as they remembered the horrors of war and those that didn't return.
We cannot bring back the dead and raise them up again. We cannot reunite loved ones. We cannot recreate the shattered lives and vanished hopes of their lost generation. But we can remember, lest we forget.
To me, it's more than Anzac Day. I also remember a lot of my mates that are dead. Some of them committed suicide after Vietnam.
Children, many too young to comprehend the carnage, came out in their dozens in Launceston to pay their respects to our servicemen and women.
One of the schools brought their entire grade 9 along, which was really good, and it's good to see that many children attend the service.
In the state's capital, politicians from across the political divide paused to reflect at the Hobart Cenotaph.
Lest we forget.
The soldiers and sailors and nurses, those who taught us to endure hardship, to show courage, to be bold as well as resilient, to believe in ourselves, to stick together.
Remembrance Day commemorates the sacrifices of Australian men and women that fell initially during the First World War and since then, World War II and the conflicts that have passed after that.
While on the northwest coast, a special plaque surrounded by a sea of poppies was presented by a hardworking group of volunteers at Ulverston Cemetery.
We've unveiled and dedicated the memorial to the 420 servicemen and women that lay in the cemetery here. Just keep their memories alive.
To see my great-great-grandfather's grave, they've done a marvellous job of doing that up, so I was very pleased.
Many of Ken Allen's relatives are buried here, including his uncle Lawrence, who died at the age of 19.
He was a prisoner in World War II, but was lost at sea when the ship he was being transported along to Japan as a prisoner was torpedoed by an American submarine. So sadly, we didn't see him ever again.
Bev Lunson comes to the cemetery 3 times a week to maintain the graves and grounds.
I've got a lot of family buried in here and thought it was looking pretty untidy. What do? You've got to do it yourself, to get somewhere. So that's how I started and I've been coming ever since.
Looking after our diggers long after they looked after us. Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmania News.
A Tasmanian mother of 5 is putting her body on the line to give the ultimate gift of life. Marie Arnold is currently carrying her health-plagued daughter's baby as the surrogate mum in what experts have labelled an extremely rare case.
Almost 30 weeks pregnant at 54 years old, but the baby growing inside Marie Arnold is not hers.
You do get some looks when you walk down the street, yeah. I'm a little older than the average person.
More than 2 decades after last giving birth, the Lilydale mother of 5 has become a gestational carrier for her daughter Megan.
Oh, it's pretty special, yeah, it's very special.
The 28-year-old has no uterus, born with MRKH syndrome, a rare disorder that affects 1 in 5,000 women. It meant she and husband Clade would never be able to conceive children naturally.
It was the end of the road, very deflated.
IVF was the only option, but it came with a huge cost.
My diagnosis actually isn't covered with Medicare.
I would like to say it's ridiculous.
The couple searched Australia and as far as Canada for a suitable surrogate. Then Marie proposed an option no one had ever considered, that she carry and eventually give birth to her own grandchild.
And to be a surrogate, I think it's very hard. It would be very hard to give a child to a strange couple, whereas these guys aren't strangers.
They thought age would be an impossible barrier. Under 40 is recommended.
Even now, you can't guarantee success.
But fast forward through months of scans and ultrasounds, the trio is in the final trimester, and in January, they'll welcome a baby boy.
In this instance, both really wanted a boy, so it was amazing.
Choosing family or friends to be an IVF carrier is not uncommon, but fertility experts say a mother-daughter surrogacy is extremely rare.
Mother-daughter, I've dealt with one, so it's not as common as people think.
All we've done is try to beat the odds, and it's finally worked out for us.
Proving when you have love and hope, anything's possible. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Vandals have damaged units under construction in Ravenswood overnight. A dozen homes had windows smashed and walls damaged at the Faraday Street site. Damage is estimated to be around $40,000. Police are investigating. Funding for Tasmania's public transport is the lowest per capita in the country, according to the findings of a parliamentary committee. The committee looked at traffic congestion in Greater Hobart, finding the public transport system doesn't adequately meet the needs of all patrons, which discourages its use. The final report recommending the government establish a single transport authority to deliver long-term evidence-based transport policy and planning. Launceston has received a culinary honour of gastronomic proportions after being recognised as one of the world's great food regions. It's one of 49 cities around the world to be named a UNESCO City of Gastronomy. It's hoped the newly designated title will help boost tourism and encourage more visitors to sample northern Tasmanian food and wine. A rare 18th century music piece will be performed in Hobart, potentially for the first time in Australia. The singers of southern Tasmania preparing to bring a revived Handel's Triumph of Time and Truth from 1757 to local audiences. Featuring 21 musicians, 60 ensemble singers and 5 soloists.
Similar to the Messiah with a large hallelujah chorus, and I can highly recommend it. The audience will have an amazing taste of this work that is hardly ever been performed.
There'll be 2 performances on November 19 and 21 at St David's Cathedral. While many university students prepare to graduate, some younger pupils have donned caps and gowns for their own special ceremonies. More than 200 students aged between 7 and 14 graduating from the Children's University program. They completed at least 30 hours of independent informal learning outside normal school hours.
Children are curious and passionate and interested, and the learning that they do in their own time outside the classroom actually helps their learning in the classroom. So it's just a wonderful way to support them.
I really love learning, and Children's University has helped open me up to new experiences, which I really love.
Another graduation will take place at the UTAS campus in Sandy Bay tomorrow. Some of Trevallyn Primary School's bravest have cut off their hair to raise money for cancer. The clippers and scissors were given a workout as the principal, along with more than 30 students, lost their locks. 400 pupils with mostly coloured hair, plaits or braids watched on. The school raised close to $25,000 for Canteen, which supports 12 to 25-year-olds and their families touched by cancer.
The Western Australian Cricket Association says Tasmania is wasting its time making a bid for the Perth Ashes Test. WACA boss Christina Matthews is confident WA will iron out its border issues before the January 14 start.
Good on them, I say, for having a go. They're just looking for an opportunity, and I'm sure that they've got the best of intentions, but they're wasting their time.
Premier Peter Gutwin wrote to Cricket Australia yesterday to make a formal pitch to bring the test to Hobart. Peter Siddle has claimed 4 for 42 in a fine spell against the Redbacks. Tasmania trails by 118 runs with 7 wickets in hand after bowling out South Australia for 220 in the Sheffield Shield match at Blunston Arena. Players and coaches paused to observe a minute's silence at 11 o'clock before the Tigers got to work.
Delivery's got him! What's a ball?
Lawrence Neil-Smith's blinder started a steady trickle of wickets.
What's a catch?
Peter Siddle was in fine form on his way to 4 for 42.
Oh, and a nick and a good catch is taken.
At 5 for 78, the Redbacks were in more trouble than the fella fishing.
Yeah, that's not safe.
Those cherry-picking the best view were rewarded as Jared Freeman joined in with his first of 3 scalps.
And Scott plays back and he's got it. He's caught.
But Henry Hunt was having a punt, piling on 57 of the last 72 runs of the innings.
And Hunt dispatching.
Chasing 220, Caleb Jewell's innings was brief. He was gone for 2. But Charlie Wakeham and Tim Ward steadied for the Tigers. They're in a healthy position heading into day 3.
Good evening. Launceston, Devonport and St Helens hit our high today of 21 degrees. Hobart 16 and Burnie 20. Although it was warmer in the north, most other temperatures around the state sat between 2 and 4 below average. Low Head 19, Smithton, Friendly Beaches and Ooze 18. Flinders Island 17, King Island, Grove and Strawn 15 today and Lyoweeney 10. Low-level cloud streamed over the state in a southwesterly airstream as the cloud with the low spirals off to the east. Extensive cloud coverage over the eastern two-thirds of the country. Many active thunderstorms too over the mainland. Tomorrow an area of intense low pressure moves over eastern Victoria with a trough passing over Tasmania. Winds east to southeasterly 10 to 20 knots and up to 30 knots over the east. Swells at 2.5 metres. Strong wind warnings on from Low Rocky Point to Stanley and also in the east from the top of Flinders Island to St Helens Point. Hobart showers developing. 15 tomorrow, 15 for Huonville, same for Campania. Launceston expecting a high of 16 degrees, a cloudy day, 30% chance of some rain, 16 for Devonport and cloudy for Georgetown, 16 the top. Burnie a shower or two, 15. 17 for Strawn, a shower or two for Wynyard, 15 the maximum. While for St Helens a shower or two on the way later, 15 the top, 15 for Swansea, showers developing for Port Arthur 2 and 14. There's the UV sitting once again on 8 in the very high range. Now, snow on the peaks on Saturday, scattered showers right around the state. Sunday, showers more frequent over the west, central and south, areas of hail, thunderstorms and snow to 400 metres, and let's throw in some strong gusty winds as well. And on Monday, showers again for most of the state, but only isolated over the northeast, snow to 400 metres with flurries at 200 metres. However, things are fine in Perth, a nice 27 tomorrow, showers in Adelaide, rain forecast for Melbourne, top of 14. Storms for Canberra and Sydney, 30 in Brisbane tomorrow, but showery as well. Partly cloudy, 13 in Hobart right now, 18 degrees in Launceston, sun shining over Devonport and 18 degrees. Not looking forward to Sunday and Monday, Kim, especially those flurries. You've got to look out for them.
Flurries and fickle, isn't it? Thanks very much, Murph.